itself. There are some more glass windows along with a glass door, and then the south side, which is primarily a walk-in cooler storage area, just has one exterior door, but it's primarily made of that siding. The floor plan, as you can see here, you can see the 735 square foot addition to the existing garage, which is shown in blue. This will be table seating along with bar seating, and then the entry and exiting for the patrons. 2 ADA accessible stalls are shown on the site. They have outdoor access, and then the cooler, walk-in cooler, and storage area and backup bar are shown on it. This encompasses the existing garage. Looking at the design guidelines, this was not mandatory because it's an adaptive reuse. However, it satisfied pretty much our entire Plan Commission checklist, besides managing stormwater and reducing impervious surface because it's on a site that's already made up of a parking lot. But overall, it's a great project that encompasses our guidelines for the design guidelines. With that being said, staff has a recommendation for approval of the conditional use and approval of the site landscaping and architectural design review with the following conditions. Common Council has to approve the conditional use permit. This is going before Council, I believe, on the 16th of January. We'd like additional details on the refuse location and frequency of pickup by the commercial hauler. Additionally, we really want to have that electrical service being provided on site because this minimizes noise for the neighborhood, and also the food trucks will be quieter to order from. And then additionally, this is on 2 parcels, so we are requiring a submittal of a certified survey map to combine these 2 parcels. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Any questions? Wayne, and then Lisa.
Will the food trucks be owned by Michaels?
We do have the Sam and Lee there from the current owners of Michaels, if they'd like to answer those questions.
I'm Sam. It will not be. We plan on kind of leasing the space to the different trucks. That helps us bring the variety of different cuisines and everything a little bit easier than trying to manage it all ourselves.
And therefore the food trucks will be independent of your ownership.
Correct.
And they'll go elsewhere.
They will be allowed to travel. We are working with the food truck owners as we develop this to have kind of a set plan. So the expectations are that you'll be scheduled there to be at certain times. If they pick up a catering job or anything, they're allowed to leave. But we just want notice so that we can replace it with a different truck. So we will have some like featured trucks of the week, or a daily feature if one of these trucks has an event or anywhere else they need to be.
And you will have control of those trucks from the standpoint when they're with you, they meet your standards.
Yes, they will be. So that's why it's kind of, we're basing this operating procedure off what Zacalo does. And so you kind of lease the space to the trucks. And with that, they'll be signing a contract that says they're only allowed to operate during the hours that we have set. One of the things that will be included in the contract is that there are no generators allowed on site, because we will be providing electrical hookups for each individual truck, so that if they are using a generator or if they are operating late at night, they're in violation of the contract. So it makes it easy for us to either assess, some sort of fine or deal with it where there's not the ambiguity of, oh, you guys can open up whenever you want. You have to be operating within our planned operation hours.
And finally, just going back to the Michaels restaurant, you own that.
Yes.
Is that was up for sale for a while, correct?
I believe so. I mean, we bought it pretty quickly after we saw it, and I don't know that it was that widely advertised. I know Dennis had kind of been floating it for a while,
Okay.
But not like it wasn't listed on, a lot of the different sites that show what restaurants are up for sale.
How long have you been the owner?
We've owned it since April.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your information.
Thanks, Wayne. Lisa?
I guess I'm taking off, since it's such a long day, say what was that, 10 hours, 11 hours?
Yeah.
And they're supposed to stay there all day. Are they going to have enough food for the whole day?
So
or that's on them?
That's on them, but we are trying to work with trucks that have been established. So obviously there will be kind of an adjustment period while they're learning what a day looks like, and you kind of learn what the expected sales are going to be for a day. But the goal is to partner with people that have the ability to, if they need to run to their home kitchen, their base, to get more food, that they can do that. And hopefully, they can kind of do a lunch shift and realize, oh no, we're going to need some more for dinner. Because the idea is to be able to provide food from all 6 trucks during all the operating hours.
And you can't. It's not a permanent spot. Like they have to leave every night.
So they have to check into their base kitchen once every 24 hours. That's how the licensing is for the food trucks.
This might be a question more for staff. This is a concern I have with this. Is there any current ordinances on the books on how far a food truck has to be away from a residential area, considering how close these are to the residences around this neighborhood?
We don't, planning and zoning, we don't have any regulations regarding food trucks and the location of residential. Since we've talked to the city attorney on this project, and because this is a collection of food trucks that operate on a semi-permanent basis, it's considered a restaurant, so it falls under those guidelines more so. Rather than,
And then my other concern would be the exhaust from the food trucks. Is that being taken care of?
yeah, with the electrical hookup, they're powered by electricity rather than
Okay.
the generators, which are commonly loud and then powered by gas too. So.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'd move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there is no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And please record 1 abstention. And the motion carries. Then we will move on to items 3A, 3B.
Thanks, Mayor. We have the next item is for Bars and Recreation. This is a activity bar that's proposed at 6325 West National Avenue, and we have the team here from Bars and Rec, Marla and Ashley, and Kevin are here from the Bars and Rec team, and what the proposal is basically this is a former industrial property called Castech. It was Castech for a number of years, over a decade, and this property goes back over history. For the past 72 years, it's been light industrial in nature. It started out as an auto service type of operation, a radiator shop, and then more recently, in recent decades, I should say, Castech, which was a pattern shop. It's been vacant since about 2020, and then Bars and Rec actually purchased it in 2022 with the intent of bringing their operation here, which is a number of different activity bars within the which they currently have within the Milwaukee area. They'd like to bring here to West Allis. So the zoning is C3, which is commercial, and indoor recreation is considered a conditional use. So that's the purpose of what we're doing tonight. In terms of the actual operations itself, it's a unique bar venue. So various custom events can be booked any date, time within the public hours of operation. Corporate team building events, and that's good for the economy of West Allis because those events that are happening here at this with large groups or small groups can be paired with other local area restaurants, with the nearby breweries, and so on, which helps spur other catalytic investment and people spending money in the neighborhood, so to speak. So it's a good thing for West Allis. The hours of operation, 5 to 7 days a week. They're initially probably going to start out 5 days a week and then maybe grow into 7 days a week as they go. But the typical hours are going to be 4 p.m. to midnight on weeknights, and then 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. on weekdays or weekends. They have a Class B license, which was granted late last year, and that was granted by the Common Council. Other details: there's going to be 15 jobs on site. It's a cashless operation. They do have security cameras as part of their business operations, and they will contract with a commercial waste hauler for frequency of pickup. And then as I mentioned, the strong economic impact with pairing with other operations in the area. So this is the floor plan that's proposed. So the National Avenue area is right out front along this angled portion of the building, and then this dash line is sort of that marquee that you you probably all recognize as you drive by for the Castech building. But the overall front of the building will be storefront windows, and they are featuring a bar area for about 25 seats here, a merchandise area, sales of T-shirts and caps and so on, and then the front lobby area and entrance here. They will have an overhead garage door, which will open up on nicer days to sort of that indoor-outdoor experience, and then a number of bathrooms, 5 women's restroom stalls and three men's stalls, and then additionally seating for patrons out here to sort of mingle in this open area, and then the play or rec area will be back in this area. It's a series of 12 different lanes for play, and then these other little shapes here are just seating for people that are sort of involved in the gaming experience, so to speak. If you're not up here playing in one of the lanes, then you're probably sitting back here and watching, the activity take place. There is also a mezzanine within the building. It's about 1,600 square feet, and that's a partial second floor, and that it will have some views down to the lower level bar area down below. That will be primarily for an event space, capacity of about 49 people. Other rooms upstairs in the mezzanine area are an office, a mechanical area, and a break room. This is a staircase leading up and down. This is the site plan. The blue area is the building area, which takes up the central portion of the property. There are 2 parking lots on each side, flanking each side of the building on the east and west sides. 14 parking stalls in total. 6 on the west and then 8 on the east. There's also a refuse area here on the southeast corner of the site. There is an existing landscape area on the northwest corner of the site, and there's going to be a new landscape area in the northeast corner of the site cut in to the asphalt here. Additionally, there's an existing guardrail around the exterior of the site. This is on the east parking lot, on the east property line, as well as the south property line, which will be removed. That guardrail will be going away, and then a new decorative ornamental metal fence will be plugged in that area. Let me just go back one. This is the west parking lot here, and then an existing fence, chain link fence and wood fence along that south property line, which should be removed from the site. Parking in the area, not only there's 14 parking stalls on the site itself, but then similar as we saw within a 1/10 of a mile and 2/10 of a mile radius, or 2-minute or 5-minute walk, you have about 250 parking spaces within a short walk away. So there is ample parking within the area, whether that be street parking as represented in these black, darker lines here, or actually off-street parking stalls in these orange-bound perimeter areas. Move on to architecture. This is the existing exterior of the building. Large glass block shop windows that were there for Castech, an existing overhead door. That form is basically going to stay the same. The difference is going to be that there's going to be new amenities that are plugged into those existing openings. Windows will be put in, and additionally a new garage door and entrance. The exterior of the building is primarily going to be repainted from that blue and white motif to more of an earth tone green. In our staff recommendation, you'll note that we were recommending there is some infill of block. I don't know if I've got a slide of it here. Maybe not. Let's see if I've got it here. This might be good. In the staff report, there was some proposed infill of those existing window openings with block, and then install of new, a little bit smaller windows within the front north facade as well as the west facade. Since the drafting of the staff report, we've been working with the design team and Bars and Rec, and they are looking at an alternative to actually put in larger windows, shop-style windows, within the existing openings, thereby not needing this infill. So we're continuing to work with them on that, and I guess we have a common goal to sort of research that aspect of it. So that is part of our recommendation, but I just wanted to share with you that it probably is a slight change, coming back with a different style of window, maybe a little bit larger window, filling in the existing opening space. And I guess we're seeking Plan Commission's approval of that larger window, shop-style window within that existing opening, but we hope that we give us the flexibility to work that out with the design team. Just moving on, new signage would be installed on the existing marquee canopy up above. And then this is a Nichi-Ha, like a faux wood material. It's a cementitious paneling siding that would be within that inset here in the front entrance area. And then the rear of the building, complete infill of all windows on the back side. This space is residential, and it's also back of house, the end of the lane, so this isn't a problem to have this infilled completely. It adds to the privacy and just better separation from the residential. And on the east side of the building, these are existing openings that will be replacement windows will be put in. In terms of the checklist, this is an adaptive reuse of an existing building. So we feel that, as an adaptive reuse, while the design guidelines don't necessarily, have to all apply, I mean, we feel that they're hitting a lot of the check marks. It is a very pedestrian-oriented building. It's an adaptive reuse of an older industrial building. So, and in terms of, keeping and maintaining that pedestrian spirit and that vitality of a destination use with large windows to sort of activate and promote that transaction of looking into the building as well as looking out, it really does hit a lot of the boxes on our design guidelines. So this has gone to Common Council a couple days ago on December 12th. Just given our schedule, it's a little bit different where we put the public hearing first and then Plan Commission happened to meet 2 days after the council, but nevertheless the public has been informed and received no objections to date. We do have the conditions of approval. Basically, number 2, basically the new windows that fit existing openings. The Bars and Rec is committed to working with staff and working that out with condition A. And then B is evaluating the structural integrity of the retaining wall and the adjacent parking lot to the east, abandon any rodent issues, and then replace as necessary. Then a new metal fence details just being provided to show what they propose to install in terms of metal fencing to replace that guardrail. And then the site landscaping revisions to show National Avenue existing landscaping as well as any proposed new landscaping infill and a schedule of species. And then 3 is more or less just a standard signage and exterior lighting condition. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to entertain that.
Thanks, Steve. Sure. Eric?
Okay, so being that this is like a former industrial site, is there a need for a environmental site like review and perhaps cleanup? And if so, what is the status of that?
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
I think Marla, that has been done. I guess they probably would have more information as far as what exactly that entailed, but.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear it, or?
I
just
guess
wanna know
know
if it's
that
done?
it's done. That's fine. I was
Sure.
just curious.
If you want to add anything, feel free. You don't have to,
Okay,
but
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, we took it through the full environmental, we did phase 1 and a phase 2, and then we actually removed all the hoist out of the floor. We worked with environmental consultants, and then we received from the DNR, we received a no further action letter. So everything was approved.
Yeah, that's good.
Any other questions? Wayne?
The parking scheme that you put out,
Yeah.
Steve, that you shared,
Sure.
given the hours of operation, and hopefully this will be a successful endeavor, it sounds really interesting to me, but we are putting more and more pressure on the farmer's market. Has that been considered in terms of parking?
Yes. In fact, when we were looking at the redevelopment of the Kearney Trekker building a little further east, and then that of the Sona Lofts and so on, we had a similar type of radius around those areas, and there's even more parking as you go further southwest. The CDA owns some land, a little further south and west behind Oak Brewing, which could accommodate another 150 parking stalls behind that, as well as the existing street grid providing, on-street parking as well. So I think we're in good shape. Yeah.
If I could ask Patrick a question?
Sure.
Patrick, with the Braun project underway or being considered, and all the discussion we've had relative to parking with that project, do you see a conflict or a pressure issue here?
I mean, per the Common Council and the CDA's idea is to attract more and more diverse uses to the neighborhood. in order to get more the area parked up. I mean, Chris Kindle Market just happened, and you had to park several blocks away in order to visit the farmers market, with the market all utilized for that. So the neighborhood has the capacity for parking. It's there. I think the lot behind by 6771 is a good distance away from 6325 West National, so I don't know if people would park that far away, but if people park there and walk, if it's available, I mean, we would advocate for that, so.
Okay, I can add to that as well if you'd
Sure.
like.
Go ahead.
Hi, so we also own 4 current locations in downtown Milwaukee, and none of them have any parking. So one of the things that we do as a strategy, most of our customers come to us as pre-reservations. So they reserve their spots online on our website, and then we have their contact information. We send them right away. We send them an email giving them details about our facility and what to expect and where to park. And then we also send them a reminder email a few days before they come. And so we have that advanced communication with all of our customers. And if there are spots, even if it's a few blocks away, we can direct them to certain places and say, here's a great place to go and park, here's the easiest spot to do it. If it's paid parking, sometimes we can work out an arrangement, here's a coupon to go and park in that particular place. Or in our really heavily trafficked areas, we can say, this is a challenge for our customers, take an Uber, carpool. So we have a lot of ways to prepare our customers for those kind of challenges, and that often helps us because then we don't have upset customers when they arrive.
Thank you.
I just have one other item.
Sure, go ahead.
In terms of like the structural integrity, I think that's like an item 2B, at least on
Oh,
my
sure.
staff report.
Mhm.
Does the fire department get involved at all in like looking at like the overall structural integrity of the building, like fire exits and like
Yes.
the integrity of this retaining wall here?
Yeah, as part of our technical review, every department chimes in, from fire department, code enforcement, engineering, and we actually got the comment on the structural integrity of this area. When this guardrail is removed, we just more or less want the design team to take a look at the condition of this wall, just to ensure that it doesn't become a harbor for rodents, and that it's properly backfilled and then sealed for with a new fence going in. So it's more or less just sort of shoring up an existing area, which is I think going to be adequately structurally sound, with the improvements that are being made. As far as the building goes, on the let me just go back to the floor plan. I think some of the recommendations from our code enforcement department were to ensure that and the fire department to ensure there's at least 3 means of exit, and you have that, I guess, with exiting points, here, back here on the building, so there's actually additional ways out, I guess, of the building, so but good point, yeah.
Any other questions?
Patrick is, yeah.
I just want to point out that the city did work with the applicant, with helping when they redid National Avenue, and it's already been tapped out for the fire suppression system that will be going in, so I think it doesn't even have any fire protection in it now.
Right.
And in order to do the use that they're planning, the building will have a sprinkler system, so that went in during the street construction. That's something we've never done before, so.
If there are no other questions, does anybody want to make a motion?
So
Move to
moved.
approve it.
I'm sorry. Give it to the lady.
Second, then?
Second.
Okay. All in,
One further comment, I'll be abstaining from this as well.
yes,
Thank you.
thanks. Yeah. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it, and there's one abstention, and motion carries. Thank you. Next up then will be items 4A, 4B. You can vote now. There you go.
Sandy Hurtado is here joining us for Las Cazuelas, Chilaquiles, and Taco Bar. And the proposal is to occupy a former Cousins restaurant in the town center, West Dallas Town Center at 6738 West Greenfield Avenue. It's about 2,500 square feet. It's looking in the very north end cap of this building here, which used to have Experience Fitness located here. And so there's obviously ample parking. It's Zone C3, conditional use is required anytime you have a restaurant that's over 2,000 square feet and with certain hours that are beyond. I think it's 10 or 11 p.m. So otherwise it would be considered a limited use and permitted, without going through the public hearing process. But because it's a little over 2,000 square feet and the hours are a little bit later than what's identified in our zoning ordinance, that's the reason for the conditional use. So the focus in terms of the menu in the restaurant are going to be the chilaquiles, and but also they're going to offer tacos, chimichangas, burritos, soups, sauces, desserts. So everything, all that spectrum of good stuff within the building, based on Sandy's family recipe. So the staffing is going to be for 12 employees. The hours of operation Sunday to Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to midnight. The schedule, they hope to be open in, I think I've got spring here, but I think it's earlier than that, or February, we hope, so yeah. So this is the internal floor plan, the dining area. This is entering from the parking lot, from the front promenade area, entering here into a vestibule, and then you'll have the seating area. It'll be decousined, and it'll become Las Cazuelas with seating.
Say decousined?
Decousined, yeah. But it'll still be a family restaurant, so I mean, it will feature a number of tables and booths within the front area, and then a small bar area here, and prep area, kitchen, full kitchen, and then walk-in coolers and freezers, and then the restroom facilities for men and women here. In terms of site plan, I don't have a site plan shown, but the Plan Commission has looked at the site plan years ago with the different evolutions of plans that have come through the city for the town center. And the town center's parking lot is looking a lot better than it did originally. I mean, there's been a lot of landscaping and attention to pedestrian lighting and walkways through the center. So staff is satisfied with the existing site plan at this point, and the restaurant's going to focus primarily on the interior of the space to build that out and get it ready for business. So we're just we're recommending just a revised plan to our office, just to show any exterior seating arrangements. And I think your architect did submit something to us, and I apologize I don't have it in this presentation, but that is part of the plan, is to put some outdoor seating outside the building, and we'll work with Sandy and team on that plan. But we encourage that in the city. Aside from that, just signage and exterior plans, which can be approved in-house by planning. So, thank you.
Thanks. Any questions? Who wants to take the lead and make the motion?
I move to approve.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Thank you. If there is no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thanks, Sandy. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Move on to item 5.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 5 is a certified survey map for Duncan at 7801 West Greenfield, and a lot on 78th Street that has to be combined. This was a prior approval from the Plan Commission, and this is just a condition of that approval to combine these two lots into one. This is from the March 2023 Plan Commission meeting. Conditional use permit was obtained in April, and here's the proposed certified survey map. Fairly straightforward. We do have one, staff is recommending approval. There's a kind of a late request from our engineering department to add this, if this Plan Commission could add this following condition of approval that was not included in the staff report, to dedicate a 10 by 10 foot northeast corner to the city of West Dallas as part of the kind of the sidewalk, the public sidewalk kind of ends through that. So just to dedicate that as part of the certified survey map. So we just recommend, if the Plan Commissioner making the motions, to include that in their motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make approval with the engineering department's request.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Move to item 6.
Thank you. Item 6 is a rezoning of the lot for the former Longfellow Elementary School. The school district recently created a request for proposals to develop this former school that was closed during the school district's consolidation. Housing for All won this RFP with their proposal. This is a kind of basic overview of the proposal, which would be coming before Planning Commission likely in January. But this is, tonight we're just considering the rezoning like by itself. But just to kind of give you a briefing on what their proposal is to convert the site into roughly 50 units of housing. I think our staff report said 60, but it's actually around 50 units. There's going to be the initial proposal is to have kind of preserve some of the existing building, have units in there, and then add some additional buildings as well. These plans could be subject to some change due to whether the kind of historic quality of the gymnasium has to be preserved or not. And this project is kind of dependent on the WIDA tax credits. Here's a kind of example view of what this could look like from one of the streets. The zoning in the area, this property is currently zoned RB, and the reason why the rezoning is coming before you is because while the use is allowed in the RB district, the lot itself doesn't quite conform to the RB district requirements, which our RB residential district is really for like smaller lot developments, and so this being a larger lot, kind of historic, this has been a school for a long time. It was just kind of in the zoning district before those maximum lot widths were enacted, and so we're recommending to, and the applicant's proposing to shift that to RC, which would then allow for the development to proceed because the lot would conform to our zoning code's requirements, and which kind of, RC is more for higher density residential development. And this corridor makes sense for higher density residential development. You can see higher density residential RC zoning to the north and to the south, and then commercial zoning pretty adjacent to it as well. And it's on the 60th Street corridor here, just a block off of Lincoln. So staff sees as appropriate, and it conforms with our future land use map, which considers public and semi-public land use, which is supported by both the RB and RC zoning districts. So as we kind of mentioned, this staff is supports this. We think it helps facilitate the adaptive reuse and preservation of this building. Housing is a suitable use for the site. And regardless of what specific project actually were to be built, even if this proposal wasn't before us, staff would still say that this rezoning is a quality step to take to facilitate redevelopment and to address the nonconformity of the lot. And so our recommendation is to approve.
Thank you. Any questions?
What is the age of that building?
That's a good question.
19 what?
Almost 100 years.
36 years.
Additions built in those
56 and 99.
Any other questions?
I move to approve the rezoning.
Second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. If there is no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Chair votes aye. Ayes have it. Motion carries. We'll move on to item 7.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 7 is a zoning code update, an update to our zoning ordinance. There's a few different components to this that we're looking at. This first one, along with some nice pictures of animals from my camera roll.
Is that Lola? In the middle?
There's Lola.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
Yeah, my dog made it in there.
Steve's dog, yep, my parents' dog, etc. So our first item we wanted to address in our zoning code update was our animal services use. More and more we're seeing households with pets being treated kind of differently in society. There's more services being offered for pets. And across the country, municipalities are regulating these differently than they maybe had in the past. And so staff is recommending a few changes to more thoughtfully allow for these uses to be located closer to where people live. A few definitions to go over. The city attorney has recommended defining three categories of these types of uses. One is animal boarding, which is kind of caring for animals on a site for pay. Animal breeding, which is breeding animals. And then animal training, which is training animals. Pretty straightforward. Our proposal is to define these uses and have them then in our zoning table. Previously, they were kind of all considered as one, and they were only really allowed in a couple zoning districts, the industrial districts. And so our proposal is to expand those into some other districts to allow for more of these types of businesses that are very desirable for a lot of people need these kinds of services. They want them to have be closer to where they live, and so to kind of allow those to be in some more of our commercial districts. And so in this proposal, we're considering having the animal training uses be allowed throughout the city's commercial districts and industrial districts, and then the boarding and breeding be allowed in our kind of more regional commercial districts, C3 and C4, as well as the industrial districts, and all of these districts, other than our I2 district, which is the most kind of, there's only a few of those lots throughout the city are heavy industrial district. The other districts, all these uses would have to take place indoors and and ensure that no noise is audible from a lot used for other residential purposes. I believe in I1 it may be allowed outdoors as long as it doesn't have those noise impacts. The second component to this update is for rummage sales. Staff identified a kind of gap in the code where certain examples of rummage kind of uses on commercial lots were happening, and there's kind of a little bit of a loophole in the code where that wasn't specifically addressed. So the new code would specifically define rummage sales as the sale of goods on a lot used for residential purposes only, and then it aligns, this second part of the regulation kind of aligns with the state code about what's considered a rummage sale. So it kind of, there's basically at a certain point, if somebody starts having too many sales or making a ton of money off these sales, it stops becoming a rummage sale and it becomes more of a commercial type of use. So this is just kind of aligning it with the state definition then, and we just allow these across the board. Any district where a residential property is allowed, it would be allowed if it's as long as it's with that residential use. And then the final part of this, and this wasn't really mentioned in the staff report, but another thing we'd like to consider in the zoning code update is some potential changes to how we regulate narcotic treatment service uses. Staff believes these types of facilities obviously are important, but they should also be balanced across the region. We have 2 in West Dallas already, and there's definitely some valid point to consider that these restrictions might be increasing. Those might be good to better protect our neighboring uses across the city. So right now they're only allowed in a couple zoning districts, C4, I1, and I2. As a limited use, and there's this kind of restriction where it has to be at least 250 feet away from residential districts or uses, parks, schools, or other narcotic treatment service uses. And so we've developed a few scenarios that we could increase those separators to kind of more kind of strictly regulate these uses. This is a map of our existing regulations. So in the kind of light color these are all the lots that were kind of mentioned before, residential uses, residential zoning districts, parks, schools, and so that's kind of where the buffer is created from. And then in the blue is kind of those gaps where it's not on that property, but it's within 250 feet of one of those types of properties. So the kind of gray ones are lots that are kind of hit by that, so they it wouldn't be allowed on that lot because they're within. Part of their lot falls within the buffer, and then the orange are lots where it would be allowed. And so this is our existing regulation. You can see there's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 maybe pockets throughout the city where one of those uses could go. If we were to increase the separator to 500 feet, that kind of shrinks a bit, and then there's only maybe 6 spots where that could go. 750 would shrink it a bit further, and then 1,000 would basically not allow pretty much any left in the city. And so staff is recommending to either increase that separator to 500 or 750 feet to sufficiently protect neighboring uses and kind of prevent over concentration of a use that can kind of be detrimental to other uses. And another thought that could go into this for the Common Council is there could be kind of an additional separation around the existing ones, where maybe around an existing narcotic treatment center it's more like 1,000 feet to kind of prevent them from locating very close to each other and having a bunch of that activity in one area. If you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. I know it's kind of a little bit complicated and wonky, but staff recommends to recommend approval of this ordinance, and this would go before the Common Council in January.
Thank you. Questions? David and then Wayne.
I wanted to just discuss the animal breeding. I don't know that we have a lot of animal breeding in the city. If it becomes limited use, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would not have to come before Planning Commission. And because there are some disreputable animal breeding places out there, I'm wondering if we would want to make specifically that only conditional use, that they would have to come, we would at least hear what their operation is going to be or how they're doing it.
Good. Yeah.
Yep.
Take that into consideration.
That's definitely a good thought.
We can talk about that. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Sticking with animal breeding for a moment, how do we incorporate the comments have just been made into this proposal.
As far as the animal breeding, maybe go back to the permitted use table. We definitely have definitions for them, which I guess wouldn't change, but just in the actual principal use table here, we can maybe separate boarding and breeding from one another, or if they do stay together, maybe there's just some additional limited use criteria language that is
I think it would have to be separated into its own use, and it would just become a C instead of an L for that animal breeding use.
Does that meet your requirement or request, David?
I think, I mean, that, yeah, if we, I mean, I don't know if anybody agrees, I just don't know if we wanna have it where, I think we'd like to have a little bit of oversight in kind of who's coming in, and what operation they're doing.
I would support that too.
Yeah, so I think if we just split them out and just make the animal breeding is always a conditional use.
Yeah, we can, if whoever makes the motion can include that in there, that kind of.
In the motion, and I apologize.
Yeah.
Were you looking for a distance on the narcotics, the 500 or 750? In the.
Yeah, that's another thing that the planning commission could make a recommendation on. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question about the narcotics one too. If we would have to include either 5 or 750 in that motion.
You know, it is just a recommendation to the council. So yeah, you could, if there's one that the planning commission strongly kind of prefers, then yes. You know, otherwise it's something that we could brief the council on, and they could kind of make the call on as well.
Okay.
I don't have a strong opinion.
If I could just, for the commission's info, this was somewhat brought up to staff by me because I am bothered tremendously by the opioid situation and the overdose situation, and I feel like West Dallas has done more than most, if not all, of our neighboring communities in trying to provide treatment options. And I talked to elected leaders in neighboring communities, some of them to our east, which have some of the highest overdose incidents in the county, and they can't even get a treatment place in their neighborhoods. And it's a regional problem, and it requires a regional solution. And I know we're centrally located, but I don't feel like we should be the home to all these treatment facilities. I feel like they should be distributed so people don't have to travel to get to them, which will then lead to more effective and more consistent treatment in breaking the addiction cycle. So I don't, you know, in my heart, I don't like limiting the uses of these, but I just honestly feel like other communities in Milwaukee County need to step up. And I feel like West Dallas has. And it's time for places to the south, the east, and the north to follow suit and provide treatment options for people that live in their areas.
Do you think that a larger separation distance here puts more pressure on the other communities to open up to it? Or do you think this isn't a factor?
I think they're going to look, I mean, obviously the ordinance would limit where they could go. So if they're looking at a specific area that would, you know, if we went with 500 or 750 and now they can't go there, they're going to have to look to the next community.
Yeah.
So what's the bottom line? How do we accomplish what you're after, Mr. Mayor?
You would make a recommendation for 750 would be a little bit more restrictive, 500 would be a little bit less restrictive.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve the zoning ordinance changes with the conditions that the animal breeding be made conditional use only, and that we look to recommend a 750-foot separation.
Yes, I agree, and I would second that, if you're making a point.
Yes, I think I started it with making a motion.
Yeah.
That works. I got all that.
Details on that
We got the details. Yep.
Okay, is there any discussion on that?
You've got a question in the back corner.
Patrick?
Yeah, I've been working with the planning staff, attended a conference recently that talked about economic development and commercialization of personalization of pets and needed services more into the neighborhoods where people are. I'm here with Andrew Crony tonight, who's exploring a property in our community that would provide dog daycare services. That was interesting.
It's just an alderman.
Would be providing dog care services in a commercial area that normally we didn't have. And I think it's a good fit where he's exploring. and it pushes the boundary a little bit to what we've had in the past. So I think we need that because 70%, maybe 80% of the new residents in the apartment buildings have pets. They may not have a boyfriend or girlfriend, but they have pets. And you go to Fleet Farm today, you can shop with your pet. There's a lot of places you can go to Oak Brewery and have a beer with your pet. So anything we can do to improve those type of services for residents in our city would be all the better. So I'm in favor. I believe we're on the same page on the ordinance, right? Or is the residential component still there?
Yep, it's still there.
So that's something for the plan commission to give an opinion on, correct?
Yeah, well, actually, the residential part, maybe Zach, go back to that part. And so it's just, what we did within the residential part is that we do want to respect, obviously, people's enjoyment of their residential property. But what we did in the limited use criteria is basically, aside from making it limited use in all the commercial districts, make it a permitted activity as long as that takes place indoors. The dog, not breeding, but boarding takes place indoors, and no noise is audible from the neighborhood area. And if it is, I guess we're going to hear about it. An older person will get a call, or staff will get a call. We'll have to investigate at that point, and then it'll be on the burden will be on the business owner then to take some additional measures to make that building more soundproof, whether it's added insulation or what have you, to sort of deaden the sound.
In certain commercial corridors in our city, the noise level is already elevated. If you think of like the Highway 100 corridor, so having those uses in there without exterior runways for pets seems like it would fit. So I would recommend that we would explore that.
That's good. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, we'll
I'd like to step back to the rummage sale. Who is responsible for overseeing this and managing compliance?
I think the state government technically defines what a rummage sale use is and such. So I think some of those definitions come from there, and it's a challenging one to.
But locally, I guess most of the complaints
I guess I'm
might come
asking,
in.
who in the city is going to be checking such things as not exceeding $2,000 in sales?
Likely nobody. But, our code enforcement department is responsible for it. But, that's a hard thing to regulate. The state government has these definitions, and we're just trying to align with them, because we have to have established some sort of limit. And so if there's really what's going to happen is, if there's a use that, a rummage type use that becomes obnoxiously overdone, it's going to be, we're going to have an enforcement mechanism then to, it's not something that, it might not be easy to tell, oh, this person made $2,001, this person made $1,999. But, if there's a point at which a certain person is doing rummage sales to an extreme degree, then we're going to have that rule that we can our city's attorney's office can go back to help enforce that on the back end.
Well, keep me informed on how that works, if you would, please.
Yes,
But
of course.
Just if I were your enforcer, if you hired me as your enforcer, I know, having been in this city for 47 years and traveling the roads I travel, I can point out people that have permanent rummage sales, and that would be a perfect target. They're probably making a living doing this.
Well, the 5-day thing is probably easier to enforce than the 2,000.
Than counting the money.
And these are rules that are from the state level, so the state does have rules about this as well. We're just trying to apply the rules consistently.
Well, and that's fine, but let's make sure we follow up and get that done. That's all I'm asking.
Is this the type of thing where you get community complaints? Does that trigger?
On rummage sales?
Yeah.
So if you drive
Wayne will be calling it.
Yeah, you can notify.
You're gonna get a lot more now.
I want to be the enforcer and get a commission.
Deputize you.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. Move on to item 8. La Salsa.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a sign appeal for La Salsa. Located in the former Senor Sol building, La Salsa recently opened. This is their second location in the area. They have another location in Milwaukee. They are proposing additional awning signage on the north-facing street facade right here. They have an existing projecting sign on that building. Total area for that signage is 29 square feet. This just considers the logo in our signage definition. The logo, the picture, and then the text. That's equivalent to 29 square feet of signage. They are only allowed 22.5 square feet. So they are slightly over. But we are asking the Plan Commission to make a determination if the additional awning area that is on these separate awnings can be counted towards the total area. It's kind of a confusing wording. If there's any questions, please let me know. But staff are recommending approval for the signage plan for La Salsa with the condition that they submit a grant of privilege for the additional awnings because they're projecting over right away. Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. Questions? Wait.
The typical follow-up to that question, or this particular proposal, is if we approve this exception, do you sense any impact on other
That would
decisions?
be up to the Plan Commission's discretion because if they have 25%, they cannot exceed 25% of the total awning area. So if another sign were to do that, they would have to come back here, and that would be up to your discretion again. But based on this, we relatively don't see awning signage too much in our administrative approval, so I don't think this would be too big of an issue if that would come up again.
I think it looks nice, just don't want the negative impact. I'd move approval.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Then we'll go to item 9, the comp plan update.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is an update for the Plan Commission. Our draft comprehensive plan is nearing completion. We should have a draft done hopefully by the end of this month. We have a kind of draft timeline kind of for what the next steps will be here, and this may not be final, but at this time this is our plan moving forward. So we're anticipating kind of starting public engagement in early to mid-January for kind of releasing our draft plan, and really when we're doing public engagement, we're gonna be focused on kind of the high points. We'll have the whole plan out there, but we don't expect people to read the details of the full plan. So we want to really kind of focus on getting the high points with people. We'll be doing online surveys, in-person kind of open houses, attending some community events to get feedback from people. We're going to be introducing kind of an overview of the update to the Common Council in January, and we're also going to be introducing kind of a more full kind of summary of what the plan entails to you and the Planning Commission at our January meeting as well. And then our intent is to hopefully get this approved in March by the Common Council. So likely February for Planning Commission. We're kind of still ironing out the timeline, and it may be that we do it kind of a little bit later. But that's kind of our intent is to get this through in the next couple months. So we just wanted to give you an update that this will be coming, and we'll supply you all with a draft copy of the plan. I mean, it's obviously a longer document. We've made it a lot shorter than they have been in the past. And just kind of skimming through even and getting some of the high points should give you a good idea. Reading the executive summary too of kind of what the kind of big ideas are that we're focused on in the comp plan. And the purpose of this is to kind of just give a vision for the city, for us to some kind of goals for us to aim towards over the next 20 years. Is really like policy for a variety of different things: land use, transportation, housing, parks, stuff like that. So, any questions on that one? We'll get some more info on that next month, though.
Sounds good. We'll go to item 10.
All right, our project tracking updates, kind of a lot this month, honestly. Some of our October Planning Commission items had their conditional use permits approved in November. Nico's Pizza, Sona Phase 2, and Checkers. Some of our past Planning Commission items then too have made some significant progress. Today, when going out for lunch, we walked past Ethiopian Coffee Shop, which was just out there installing their sign today. So that's looking good. It's getting close to opening. Sona, or Makers Row construction is continuing to progress. All the building shells are up, and that's continuing the interior work. Sona lofts are now fully leased. They had kind of a grand opening celebration, even though they've been open for a while, but just to kind of celebrate that milestone. Chris Hanston, this is pictured right down here. Their expansion construction is progressing pretty significantly. They have the whole kind of thing framed out now. The deco opened and had a ribbon cutting in November. This is a kind of view of the interior space there. And Chase Bank just obtained their occupancy permit, and they're open there and have a ribbon cutting in the next couple of weeks as well. So a lot of our past plan commission items making some good progress over since our last plan commission meeting. Yes.
David.
Can you refresh my memory on, or just what's going on with the street space next to the deco? Are there was going to be some, I mean, obviously it's open space. Do they have any like events planned? Do they have community engagement stuff going on? Or
They have kind of a proposal. They've kind of been, I guess, brainstorming, and they have some plans that would eventually potentially come before. I don't know, what bodies that would go before.
Probably the Council Board of Public Works, where they'd come back to council and present a new idea, new way of reusing that street a little bit more permanently with some structures and activity, upgrades within the area.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Whatever happened to the big coffee project over there at the back of the Target lot?
They're still interested. I think they're just moving really slow. I mean, they had a window to get things started before winter, and I think they missed that window, so I think you're going to see something in the springtime.
Yeah, they've applied for building permits and stuff like that. It's just not started yet.
And then my other question is, any updates on the gas station that is supposed to go in where the auto analyzer's place is? There at 84?
Yeah, so the original gas station entrepreneur who came to us several years ago now with that proposal has now backed out of it basically, and there's another group is kind of considering looking at it, and they would have a different plan, similar use but a different plan, and so they'd have to come back before the planning commission and I think council too, for conditional use permit for that change. But we don't actually know at this time like what is actually happening. That's all kind of privately being figured out.
Yeah, that location there at 84th and Greenfield is just such a busy corridor. I'd love for something to go in there instead of just sitting empty.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Definitely.
Any other questions? No. All right, then
I'd move to adjourn.
we'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Before everybody takes off, I just want to thank everybody for a great year.